I personally believe the reality is that businesses, companies, the future workforce, they're going to expect their employees to utilize AI as like a copilot. And so if we aren't preparing our students for that world, I don't think we're doing the right thing.
You're listening to the SmartSocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hello, my name is Doug Wheeler. I'm superintendent of College Community School District in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We have about 5,800 students in 12 school sites.
Hi, my name is John Magas, and I'm superintendent of Duluth Public Schools in Duluth, Minnesota. We're located on the far western shore of Lake Superior, where we have 13 regular school sites and 4 alternative sites. We serve about 8,100 students, and we're pleased to be part of the community.
My name is Andrew Wheatley. I'm the proud secondary curriculum director of Lakota Schools. We're just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. We have 23 buildings and 18,000 students that we serve every day.
How is your school district approaching ChatGPT and other AI tools?
Well, I think that one of the ways we're approaching is just the reality that it's there. And I think I've spoken to this before. I think it would be naive for anyone to say that students haven't used it in every school district. And so I think with that reality and how quickly it gained momentum, one of the first things that we did not block ChatGPT. We've been getting questions on that, I think, as our staff is learning about it. And we're right across the street from a community college, and community colleges and colleges are chewing on this as well. What's the best way to approach this? One of the things that we're going to do in the fall is we're actually going to convene an AI task force where we're going to convene the people that are going to be most affected by it, right? So not only our technology people, but also our classroom teachers. And we're going to learn about, AI, learn about ChatGPT, learn about the next generation of AI, which is even more, more robust than ChatGPT. And figure out, what is our approach? So we do have an official approach. I think that you need to have an official approach on it. I think if you block it, you do create another equity barrier. So if I have, because they're going to use it, if you block it on your own devices and the student can afford their own device, they're going to use it anyway. So I think that blocking it is not really where we're at. Early on, some of our responses, we'd run across some resources for, it is a bit formulaic, even though it gives you different answers each time. It's a bit formulaic. Here's some ways you can kind of identify if something is likely ChatGPT. I think the one that I've seen the most is some say this, or there are those that say this. I think that that's a piece. I do think another piece is how can our teachers use it to get to personalized learning? I think how can a brand new teacher who's never taught a complex concept, how can they go to ChatGPT or AI and say, what are the main points of this, and use that as a starting point? And I'll be honest with you, I've given presentations to community leaders, and in each presentation, so if it's the Economic Alliance, I'll go to ChatGPT and I will I'll type in, what are the main roles of a city Economic Alliance, and I'll take that screenshot, and I think that, and then I'll show it to them, and they'll be amazed. I'm like, okay, that took me 20 seconds to generate. What does this do for you, right? In the workforce you're coming into, and I think it really creates an opportunity to lean into what were formerly referred to as soft skills, collaboration, critical thinking. All of those skills that we've been really trying to lean into, I think are going to become a must in the ChatGPT world.
So I'd say that we're approaching it with some degree of caution, but also and from an understanding that this is something that's moving forward, something that we need to learn more about, and something that we really need to think about how are we integrating this into student learning. We are very cautious about cybersecurity and also making sure that students are producing their own work. So there are issues that way that we need to make sure that we're thinking about safety of the district, and also that our students are able to move forward with their own learning. But we also recognize it as a huge new development for humanity, and how are we going to embrace it? I think this is almost as meaningful as the development of the printing press. And so if we're thinking about it from that perspective, we can't stick our heads in the sand and pretend like it's not here. We have to think about how are we going to use it thoughtfully, and how are we going to teach our students how to use it thoughtfully so that they can show progress and really be prepared for the society of the future.
Same way we approach everything. We have a great school district, a lot of great leaders, teachers, a lot of fantastic teachers and students. So what we want to do and what we always do is try to get those voices in the room. We want to talk to our teachers. We want to talk to our building leaders, district office people, and listen to our students so that we can make decisions that ultimately are right for kids and also, protect the data and privacy of our students and our school district. But it's the same way we approach everything. To, get people involved and get a bunch of smart people together and figure it out.
Absolutely. Now, are there any positive use cases that you've heard of from students or maybe even teachers in your community around ChatGPT and AI tools?
Yeah, I really haven't heard of any positive cases from students because I think students, because we haven't really clarified where we're at with it, they haven't really been necessarily forthcoming that they're using it. But like I said before, it's naive of us to think that they're not using it. And so that's why I think we need to convene a group of thought leaders in our district of this is a reality for our students. How do we best use this? And do we start with how can this be a benefit to teachers? Because you can type in, okay, give me an example of this at a certain reading level, right? And I think that those are things that as teachers begin to use that AI can actually lessen their load a little bit. But again, I think that the big concern people have is cheating. And so, okay, how do we lean into this and create a scenario where it's useful, where that cheating isn't prevalent, or where people are saying, I used this as a tool or as a starting point. How did I use it differently than ChatGPT gave it to me? And create a dialogue around how they're using that information.
Actually, I used ChatGPT as part of my graduation speech. Not that I had it create the speech for me but it was sort of a engagement hook where I had ChatGPT create a graduation poem about our graduates, and I read the poem, and then I told the audience that, hey, this was produced with ChatGPT. And I also expressed that ChatGPT is going to be part of their future, and what ChatGPT and computers can't provide is heart and soul. And so really the heart and soul are really going to be the commodities of the future. So thinking about how are we using ChatGPT is important. I know our teachers are using it sometimes for lesson plan ideas. I've used it, actually I've had an administrative retreat, and I was trying to think of different team building activities, and I asked it to produce a 30-minute team building activity based on what I wanted to do during that session, and it produced one. And then I didn't really like that one, so I said, give me another, give me another, give me another. And eventually it gave me 10 different ideas for what I could do in a 30-minute team building activity with my leadership team. And I was able to pick which one was best based on what I needed, rather than spend hours and hours trying to decide on my own. So really, I think it's how do we use ChatGPT to produce content for us and then be selective users of that content. I think it can also be useful when we're looking at structure of ideas. For instance, when we're thinking about how social media is affecting our students and how should schools use social media, I asked ChatGPT, what are your thoughts on this? And it gave me a list of ideas for how school districts should be responding to social media issues. And a couple of the ideas it had were things that I didn't necessarily think of in my first response. And so sometimes it gives you kind of a broader checking for understanding to see, did I include everything I wanted to or not?
Building leaders, school employees, teachers, there's a lot of productivity things it can help with. We are starting to have conversations about what this looks like for students and how students can use it to potentially be more productive. We've had some conversations and thinking about it as like assistive technology, right? So assistive technology has been around a long time. And if we have a student who needs access to education and they, struggle with mobility, maybe a wheelchair is assistive technology. And so can we think about AI in that same type of fashion? Is those types of conversations that we are having and trying to figure out.
Yeah, absolutely. So my last question for you, with regards to AI tools and ChatGPT, are you changing any of your techniques for grading students and the types of assignments being used in the classroom?
Yeah, I don't think that we're making changes to grading. I think that one thing that I do have a concern of is I know that highly successful schools that are highly successful at advancing students in literacy, especially in the secondary level, it's about writing. And it's around writing to learn, right? Not learning to write, but writing to learn. And I do think that if we're giving small sectioned writing, that can influence, or that can be a benefit to us. I think that it's the environment in which it's created and our honesty around like when are we allowing a lot of editing and when we want a thought on the page from the student. So I think the big challenge is understanding where's the thought coming from. And if their thought started with ChatGPT, be honest about that and then talk about how, I didn't like this though, or it really didn't give me what I wanted, or I wanted a personal example. I think it really is going to focus us in on writing about not necessarily source information, but writing about how does this interact with you? What is your take on this? How does this impact you, your life, your city, your family? And I think that that's something that, is part of personalized learning that sometimes, kind of gets lost in this is the academic standard and we need to meet the standard and this is the subject or the topics we use within that standard.
I think that's a hot topic for this summer here in our district. It's something that we're really going to be examining through our teaching and learning department because we know that there's initial use and we know that some students are using it. And it's important for us to really think about it, in a responsible and respectful way. I think it varies from department to department. So I think that there's important work we want to do as umbrella policies and such for the district. But then I also think we want to consider how different departments are going to use ChatGPT and other generative AI products to advance learning and make sure that we're not just turning it into something that's a cheating content producer, but how are we using it to further education and customize education for our kids. Sometimes I think about, struggling readers and if you could ask ChatGPT, if a student is really interested in dinosaurs and baseball, you could ask ChatGPT to write a story at that person's proximal lexile level and have them read a story about something that they were interested in that would be ChatGPT produced based on their interests immediately. So I think there's so many things that I think that we can start using AI for. But we really have to be thoughtful in the way we delve into it and really comprehensive and creative in the way we embrace it as well.
I think the right answer is yes, but in a lot of ways, I actually think the answer is no. Here's why, is that good instructional practices haven't really changed with AI, right? Personalized learning for students is the right thing to do for students. It also mitigates some of the issues with students be able to use AI for cheating purposes, right? If they're making something that's unique to them about their story, that's hard for AI to replicate. So a lot of the professional development that we've been giving for teachers, a lot of the things that we would like our teachers to do with students are also mitigate some of the issues and are good for learning. So in some ways that hasn't changed. As we learn more about AI and we dive deeper into it, I think, we'll get some different guidance and stuff like that. We're in the initial stages of building an AI course for students and launching that ASAP because I personally believe the reality is that businesses, companies, the future workforce, they're going to expect their employees to utilize AI as like a copilot. And so if we aren't preparing our students for that world, I don't think we're doing the right thing. So we're looking at implementing that. We're in the initial stages, trying to get that out there. And really it'll be around just, ethics, productivity, probably related to some social studies topics is probably the department will put it in. Not a technical course, not like, how do you program large language models, but more of thinking about it from ethics, law, productivity, and economic related effects of AI.
Thanks for listening to our SmartSocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our SmartSocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our SmartSocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.